Hello, welcome back to my channel. Let us talk about guard force and guard system in the Philippines as one of the topic in Introduction to Industrial Security Management. Security guard, or otherwise known as watchman, renders personal services to watch or secure either a residence or business establishment, to protect property, assets, and or people for in exchange of compensation. Of course, with a license to exercise security profession. Security Guard Force is a group of selected men trained or grouped into a functional unit for the purpose of protecting operational processes from those disruption which would impede efficiency or it may halt the operation at a particular plant, facility, installation, or a special activity. There are three types of guard forces in the Philippines. One, we have the Private Security Agency or the PSA. So any person or association, a partnership, firm, or private corporation who contracts, recruits, train, furnishes, or pulls any security guard to do its function or solicit individuals, business firms, or private, public, or government-owned or controlled corporation to engage its service or those of his service guard for higher commission or compensation. Second, we have Company Security Force or the CSF, a security force maintained and operated by any private company, corporation for its own security requirements only. And lastly, the Government Security Unit or the GSU, a security unit maintained and operated by any government entity other than military, police, which is established and maintained for the purpose of securing the office or compound or extension such government entity. There are three types of licenses in the security profession under Republic Act 5487. Number one, we have license to operate. Before a private security agency can operate, it has to secure a license to operate, categorized as either temporary or regular. A temporary license to operate is issued by the PNP through Civil Security Group Directorate after the applicant or licensee should have complied with all the requirements while it has less than 200 guards. Take note, less than 200 guards, temporary. For a regular license to operate, it is issued to the private security agency once it is qualified of having 200 or more licensed security guard in its employ duly posted. So take note, if there are 200 or more licensed security guard who are uh, employed in that particular PSA, the license to be given is regular. Take note that regular license is renewable every 2 years. We also have a firearms license. All firearms of security agency should be covered with firearms licenses issued by the PNP through Firearms and Exclusive Division under the Civil Security Group. It is renewable every 2 years. So No duplication of two or more firearms with the same make and serial number shall be covered by one license. And take note that the average ratio of firearm for security guard is 1:2, one firearm for every two security guard. Next, security guard license. Before a security guard can practice his profession, he shall possess valid security license. So the use of expired license is not allowed. In case of doubt, okay, licenses may be verified at the PNP SOSHA whether it is valid or fake. Next, the requirements for new PSA or private security agency. So for the applicant, okay, they need to have 1 million minimum capital plus, okay, 500,000 bank deposit. So application must be submitted to the Chief PNP through SOSHA. It must include the following: the full name of the applicant, his age, civil status, and residence and location of his business. Okay. In case it is a corporation, association, or partnership, ibig sabihin mas madami sa isa. Okay, more than one yung nagmamay-ari. Okay, ito yung mga kailangan. Certificate of registration with the Security and Exchange Commission, and of course, the bylaws and articles of the incorporation. In addition to the previous discussion, okay, here is the graduated scale of license to operate. The minimum number of security guard is 200 or more, but it should not exceed 1,000. So take note, minimum number is 200, maximum number is 1,000 licensed security guard. So the private security agency will be given a license to operate, particularly regular. So this will be good for 2 years. The new private security agency shall be issued a temporary license to operate. So the given time or duration of time to comply with the minimum number to be given a regular license to operate is 1 year. Okay, PSAs with temporary license to operate having posted, for example, na-post na yung 100 guards or more, pero okay, less than 200 pa rin, shall, upon expiration of such LTO, take note yung temporary license to operate kanina ay 1 year. Ngayon, nag-expire. So, mabibigyan pa rin siya ng extension, okay, or extension period ng 6 months, okay, to meet the, okay, 200 security guard. For example, meron na siyang 150, okay, posted or nakapost na lahat ng guard na yon. Ngayon na nag-expire na, okay, in 1 year, 150 pa rin yung guard. So ngayon, okay, pwede siyang mag-ask ng extension for a period of 6 months only. Take note 6 months to comply the 200 security guard as the minimum number. However, upon expiration of the extension period, okay, nag-expire, in 6 months, wala ka pa rin nakuhang 200. No extension shall be granted unless, take note the PSA shall submit a certificate for additional 50 guards posted for a 150 guards total. Kunwari, nakahanap na siya ng 50. Okay, nagbigay na siya ng certification, nag-submit. Okay, na meron siyang nakuha na 50 license additional security guard. Okay, so, mabibigyan na siya ng regular license to operate. For the private security agencies with canceled or revoked license to operate shall cease to operate within 7 days after having been duly notified of such cease to operate order. And they need to deposit, okay, their firearms to the Firearms and Explosive Division, So they have to ask for the receiving copy. Okay, and of course, furnish a copy to the GPNP or the SOSHA or the SAGSD. Otherwise, okay, the private security agency concerned shall be liable of PD 1866 or the legal possession of firearm as amended by Republic Act 8294, who may organize and maintain a private security agency. Take note that any Filipino citizen or corporation, association, or partnership. So, pwedeng nag-iisa or group of people, okay, or a corporation. 100% owned and controlled by Filipino citizens. Take note, 100% owned. So, what if my shareholder na foreigner? So, hindi siya allowed. Take note of this, 100% owned and controlled by a Filipino citizen. Basic requirements of an operator or manager of agency. Filipino citizen, at least 25 years old, college graduate, or a commissioned officer in active service. Take note, in active service. Retired from AFP or PNP or graduated in industrial security management or must have adequate training or experience in security business. And lastly, with a good moral character and not having been convicted of any crime involving moral turpitude. General disqualifications: dishonorably discharged from the service in the PNP or AFP or any private government entities. Physically or mentally unfit, conviction of a crime, addicted to drugs or alcohol, dummy of a foreigner, and elective or appointive government officials and employees. Basic requisites for security guards: Filipino citizen, at least high school graduate, physically and mentally fit, at least 18 years old but not more than 5 years old, has undergone pre-licensing training course, and must not possess any of the disqualifications. Qualification of a private detective: a holder of Bachelor of Laws and Letters, graduate of Bachelor of Science in Criminology, graduate of Criminal Investigation course, or Advanced Reserve Officers Training course, or Citizen Military Training graduate. Basic qualification of security officer: a Filipino citizen, physically and mentally fit, a holder of baccalaureate degree, a graduate of security officer training course, retired personnel of the Philippine National Police or the Armed Forces of the Philippines, and must not possess any of the disqualifications. Basic qualification of a security consultant: a holder of master's degree in either criminology, public administration, master in national security administration, industrial administration, or Bachelor of Laws and Letters. Must have at least 10 years experience in the operation and management of security business. Firearms and weapons authorized for use of security guard while on duty. Handguns or low-powered firearms like the caliber 22 and caliber 38. Take note that not exceeding one firearm for every 2 guards employed. Shotguns not higher than 12 gauge. Use of firearms and equipment: for private security agency with 100 guards, at least 30 pieces of licensed firearms. However, after operating for 6 months, the private security agency can procure firearms in proportion to the number of posted guards. For regular license to operate, at least 70 pieces of firearms. Take note that the use of firearms for private detective agency shall be optional. Restrictions. Total high-powered firearms shall not exceed 10% of the total number of guards. Private security agencies are not allowed to possess high-caliber firearms such as carbine, M16, caliber 45, centerfire magnum, caliber 41 and 44, and high-caliber firearms except when such private security agency or company security force is operating in areas where there is an upsurge of lawlessness and criminality. Exception is granted by the Chief PNP or the PNP Regional Director. Limitations. When a security guard during his tour of duty, when in proper uniform within the compound of the establishment where he is assigned, when he is escorting big amount of cash, all valuables, and upon prior coordination with the nearest PNP units and station. A duty detail order refers to a written order or scheduled assignment issued to a security guard and other private security personnel by a superior officer, usually the private security agency or branch manager or operations officer, for the performance of security and or detective service duties. Stacking of ammunitions, not exceeding 50 rounds of ammunitions per unit of duly licensed firearms, and uh, at least 25 rounds per security guard. Color of uniform, past navy blue for private security agency, light gray for company security force, and white for government security unit. Provisions for uniform. Private security agency or company security force shall provide at least one set of the prescribed uniform free of charge to their respective security guard for every year of service within them. Likewise, all licensed security guard shall provide themselves with one set of uniform once a year unless their employers provide it for free. The ranks and positions of security guard was patterned from the organizational structures of the PNP and the AFP. Security officers and personnel too are distinguished by means of ranks and position. So the ranks and position is divided into three. We have the security management staff, which includes the security director, the agency manager, or the chief security officer. Security executive director are the assistant agency manager or assistant chief security officer. Security staff director for operation, and staff director for administration. For line leadership staff, we have security supervisor 3, the detachment commanders, security supervisor 2, the chief inspectors, security supervisor 1, the inspector. For security guard, okay, we have security guard 1 or the watchman or guard, security guard 2, ship in charge, and lastly security guard 3, the post in charge. Personnel identification and movement control. As we all know, the use of protective barriers is insufficient to maximize the effort of the guard force. There must be established control point for positive personnel identification and check system to ensure that all those persons who have the right and authority will be given the necessary access to the area. Two types of personnel identification. Personal recognition, familiarity of the person's characteristics. Artificial recognition is the identification using cards, passes, passwords, and the like. Use of pass system. Single pass system, the badge or pass coded for authorization to enter a specific area is issued to an employee who keeps it in his possession until his authorization is terminates. Example is the ID or employee's ID of a certain employee. Once that he resigned or she resigned, his or her authorization will be terminated. Pass exchange system. An exchange system takes place at the entrance of each controlled area. Upon leaving, the personnel surrenders his badge or passes and retrieve back his basic identification. So, pass exchange, these are the common procedures when you enter in a certain establishment. Your identification card uh, will be in exchange of visitor's ID. Multiple pass system. This provides an extra measure of security by requiring that an exchange takes place at the entrance of each restricted area.